Hey, Rick here, and well, I've been gone for what seems like a while now. We're having a crisis of faith, I guess I could call it, and a bunch of imposter syndrome, like, why am I doing this? But then I had to remind myself, hey, look, we're doing this for fun. You remember, we kind of wanted to do it for fun. So why not, right? So, and I've been pretty busy also as well. I had a trip for work. I got to go to a bunch of museums and whatnot because I'm a teacher, right? So I had a teacher trip. So that's what we did. And I've also been editing a ton of pictures because I do photography on the side. And also have been researching for my research paper for graduate school. Huzzah! Masters in history, hopefully, right? But yeah, it's been pretty wild, and I basically need to manage my time pretty well, right? It's been pretty intense, right? But hey, I'll figure it out, right? I'll figure out a nice schedule to set up here. But nonetheless, today I want to talk about a movie called Skillhouse. I went to go watch it in a theater about an hour away because it wasn't showing the one here in my town. I was just very curious because when I read the synopsis and I saw it, I was like, what is this? It sounds interesting enough, right? Let's take a gamble on it. So I drove like the 45 minutes or an hour or something like that, right, to get to the theater to go watch it, and I just wanted to share my thoughts about it. All right, so what is this movie about, right? So it's about these 10 influencers who are captured, right, by a thriller killer, as I believe that was what he was called while we were going through, and they're put into like this influencer house, right, like the Skill House, I guess that's why, hence the title, and they're forced to basically influence, right? Do their influencer stuff. They're on their phones that they're given, and they're supposed to compete, get most likes and whatnot, and you know, the one who gets the least dies. Kind of crazy, right? But that's basically what this movie is about. Now, that's not everything, right? They do have, when they get there, they realize that they've been kidnapped, right? They have these little, I guess, necklace-like things around their necks, and basically it will kill them if they break one of the following rules that are established there. Rule number 1 is that if you leave the premise, you die. Rule number 2 was that if you try and ask and call for help, you die. And then rule number 3 is that if you lose your phone or you get separated from it, or if it disconnects, you die. So there you go. Those are the 3 rules they have set up. And right off the bat, right, you get to see these rules be violated, of course. Real quick, 2 of the 10 influencers die, like, boom, right at the beginning of the movie. So that's not even a spoiler because it happens so early, right? But they basically say, you know, for lack of a better phrase, fuck this, we're leaving, we're out. And they just walk on off. As soon as they cross by these little, what's the word I'm looking for, markers, right, that they've got there, they die. They get their heads decapitated, right, by these little things around their necks. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, because I got a couple of things to say about these kinds of this deal here. I get my Coke Zero. If I ever get famous enough, maybe Coke will give me a sponsorship or something. I drink so much of it, but I need to chill that out a bit. But now, I did not know that most of these people in this movie, I think the 10 influencers are actually influencers. So I was not very familiar with who they are. I guess only one I was very familiar with, Paige Van Sant, because I think, if I remember correctly, she's a UFC fighter, and she was also in AEW for a tiny bit. So that's where I remember her from. And the others, I was like, I don't know who these people are, right? So it was a little confusing, I guess, when it comes to recognizing who's who, right? Okay, so now that we got the basic synopsis out of the way, let's run through a bit of what I liked about this movie. Okay, so, you know, as you know, in these kinds of battle for the death kind of movies, right, you're going to have some characters that are a bit unsavory, right? And in this one, you have a character named Rumor. Oh my God, she's so horrible. So I couldn't help it. But like right at the beginning, right, as soon as they finish the rules, you have Paige Van Sant and I guess AJ was the other guy's name, die, because they tried to leave the premise. Rumor is already like scheming and plotting, and I mean like kind of like, hey guys, you know, what if we separated somebody from their phone? What if it just happened to disappear, right? It's like, oh my God, she's already thinking like this. The game just started and she's already like, okay, how can I basically get all these other guys killed, right? Amazing. She is so horrible throughout this movie. Scheming, plotting, all this, and then she's just mean also to to add sugar on top, right, to this interesting flavor here. So another thing that I thought was pretty interesting was basically the whole idea of social media, right? I mean, come on, man, we're on the internet, right? And we know that people are pretty horrible online. And you see it like while they're going through this, right? First off, they're live streaming people dying, and people are like, "Yay, let's watch this." Uber violence, yeah, right? But you start seeing like the comments come out from the side, right? Like right here on the side of the screen, and it's like, you know, things like "Die, bitch, you deserved it," and it's like, dude, like I'm just sitting there and I'm getting like, "Ooh, that's kind of nasty, bro." I mean, the last time I checked, these people are people too, so. Seeing some gnarly comments like that in there was pretty sad and pretty disturbing, right? It's pretty nasty how we treat each other on the internet, and I guess maybe that's kind of what this movie was trying to get at with scenes like that. Now, there was also this one little joke that got me laughing. A character named Sebastian was throwing some shade at Rumor, right? And he basically told her, "Look, you're ancient because you were born in the 1900s," and I took like super offense to that because believe it or not, well, it should be fairly obvious, right? Believe it or not, come on, man. I was born in the 1900s as well, right? So I guess I'd be ancient to this character Sebastian. I thought that was pretty funny, right? And I started to chuckle a little bit, you know, thinking that, you know, I'm pretty ancient myself. But getting back to the social media aspect, right? I mean, I'm gonna try and ramble a little less, or at least be more coherent as we go along, right? Back to the social media aspects, right? We kind of treat each other like shit on the internet. And if you were around like me, as I said, I'm ancient and I was born in the 1900s. We had the original days of Xbox Live. Oh my god. And when you played Xbox Live back then, you got like some of the ugliest things told to you through those headsets all day. And they'd send you some abhorrent messages too. My brother and I used to joke about it because he'd get what he'd call fan mail, right? You get that fan mail, and it was always something horrible that they would send, and it was pretty nasty, man. That was back in like the 2000s, like the late 90s and early 2000s. When we were playing video games like that, right? But doesn't look like much has changed, honestly, when it comes to the way we treat each other online, as I see still some disgusting comments from people, and it just makes me a little sad and depressed. But also, you know, you have these influencers, right, who are literally doing whatever they can, right, in order to get those likes. And you see that you'll see some female characters in here, and they'll just straight up say, "Hey, guess what? Sex sells. So I'm gonna do things in bikinis or do whatever, right, to get those likes." And I think that's also what the movie's trying to get across, right? Like the things that we do to gain the, as they say it in here, and I guess how the youngins say it, clout, right? And it's kind of insane, right? Honestly, makes me kind of sad, right? But so is the times, I guess. But of course, I'd be remiss to mention that this movie also has a ludicrous plot point. Ooh, I don't know where that came from, right? I guess I just had my brain just kind of shut down for a second. But nonetheless, right, it has a ludicrous plot point having to do with 50 Cent. Like, what? Why is 50 Cent here? It doesn't make sense. But then, like, it starts to steer you into a direction that makes it feel like 50 Cent's a big part of this movie. And then you're like, oh my fuck. Are we going down this route? Sadly, we don't go down that route too much. We kind of do, but not that bad, right? There's a tiny bit of more 50 Cent later. I don't want to spoil it too much, right? But if they had gone full tilt, this movie would have been so much better if they went down that route. We're just going wild, right? They don't go that wild, sadly. Okay, so now, like, what is actually pretty not cool about this movie, right? Things I did not like. Now, I don't like to be really harsh when it comes to acting stuff because, you know, I'm not an actor. That stuff's not easy. It's kind of hard just talking to the camera like this, right? So I can't imagine what it's like to actually perform a role for a movie, right? It's kind of hard, man. So I don't like to be too harsh on things like that. But the performances from some of these influencers aren't exactly the best. And it's a little rough on the edges, right? It kind of pulls you out of the movie, right? You know, when, oh yeah, I'm definitely watching a movie, right? You become less invested in what's going on. And that kind of happens a lot in this movie. But, I mean, like I said, man, I mean, it seems like they're influencers, so they're not actors. That's not easy to do. And, you know, if they keep going, make more movies and stuff, maybe they'll just continue to improve, right? So good luck to them on that front, but it was a little rough on that end right there. Now, some of the kills in here have problems using CGI. Now, I'm not like one of those anti-CGI. CGI is the devil and it should never be used in movies ever, but CGI does look pretty rough, man. And the kills, I mentioned the beheadings at the beginning, right, where Paige Van Sant and AJ die really early in the movie. It looks rough, man. Like the CG blood, the CG head rolling down the steps. It looks pretty rough. And, you know, I guess maybe I'm in this group too, but I know there's a contingency online that basically, I guess they basically don't like the CG blood, right, and all that. I mean, I'm not a complete hater, but I will admit that sometimes CG blood, when it's done in a weird way, will pull me out of the movie pretty hard. And I mean, that's right at the beginning, right? So it kind of sucks to get pulled out so hard right at the beginning. I'm like, ooh. But some of them are pretty like that, right? Now, that's not all the effects, though, right? Some of the effects are pretty good. Like, the practical effects are pretty fun. Like, when a girl, Amanda, is having to burn off, like, either her hand... Well, actually, she had to burn off both her hand and her foot, right, with acid. Those looked pretty cool, man. It looked gnarly, and it was fun. But, again, some CG things come in, kind of make it rough to look at some of these scenes. And some of the scenes, once they get pulled off, aren't too exciting, sadly, right? A movie like this should have been crazy. We should have been running wild, but it doesn't push that extra boundary, right? At least in my opinion. Okay, so I guess if we're gonna conclude this, right, let's just talk about it. Did I like it? No, I didn't like it, right? I mean, it does have some interesting ideas on like how we treat each other online through social media, right? And most of the time it's pretty bad. And it seems like the director also wants to talk about how we seem to be very attracted to watching violence. I mean, like, how many people are tuning into this live stream? People literally dying? A lot, right? So I guess he had some things to say about that. The idea of fame, right? And the chase for this fame, like, we'll do whatever we can to get it, right? And that's kind of the motivation for the killer at the end, as they just basically stated out, hey, look, if I'm the final survivor in a massacre like this, I will get so much fans. I will be like loved and adored to the highest heavens and all of this, right? And basically that's what the killer's running with. I'll get famous by being the final survivor, right? The sole survivor at the end. And this has been done before, right? And it's been done really well in the classic, and I would argue the best sequel and possibly the best in the series. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. But Scream 4. I love Scream 4. Scream 4 was way ahead of its time. Amazing movie, right? But yeah, it was argued there that was the killer's motivation, Scream 4. And they do it really well. It's not done really well here. So this movie, I mean, it tried, it swung. You can't fault it for that. And it had some ludicrous points with 50 Cent, and that will give it, like, if you're doing like star kind of deal, give a half a star bonus, because it is truly ridiculous nonsense. And if the movie had leaned more into ridiculous nonsense, I probably would have liked it a lot more. So yeah, if it leaned in more and with those gonzo nonsense, I probably would have liked it more. As you could probably guess if you saw that I unboxed the Super Mario Brothers movie on 4K Blu-ray, I have a special place in my heart for trash. I have this too. Right, I bought that on Blu-ray, even though it is in the public domain and very, very easy to find. If I really wanted to watch it, I could watch it on YouTube. But I bought it on Blu-ray because I like trash. Because it's so fun and entertaining. But you gotta hit like that humongous threshold, right? Like you're just pure garbage, right? And this movie doesn't hit those levels, right? It's not great, but it's not garbage, so that's why it's not good, right? I know that doesn't make sense coming out like that. That's just how I feel. That's my personal opinion on movies, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I'll watch My Rosemary's Babies or Night of the Living Deads or Suspirias or whatever, right? The classics and those ones with highfalutin fancy pants stories and all that. But I also like trash. That's just me, right? Not everybody's gonna like trash. But if this movie had gone down the trashier route and was just plain crazy, I probably would have liked it more. But nonetheless, it didn't. And this movie's not that good. I think I gave it like two out of 5 on Letterboxd. But like I said, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen for sure. And it's not the worst thing I've seen this year, right? So there you go, right? You probably shouldn't watch this unless it's free online somewhere, like on Tubi or something like that. But I kind of, maybe I'm just a little salty because I also had to drive like 45 minutes, right? Or like on 45 minutes to an hour, I don't remember the exact time, to get there. And it's not fun making a trip where the movie's not good, right? It's kind of like a little frustrating, but it's no big deal at the end of the day, right? Well, that's really all I have to say. Movie's not great. It's not the worst thing I've seen ever, but it's not the greatest thing I've seen for sure. And well, thanks. Ooh, thanks for listening. Have a good one.